Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about critical analysis of Wordsworth poem Lucy Gray. Is in the previous lectures we talked about the romantic poets, their philosophies, their approaches towards literature. We talked about William Blake, Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. Then we talked about William Wordsworth, his biography, his art, and his works. Today it's about Lucy Gray. As William Wordsworth was born on 7th of April 1770 and died on 23rd of April 1850. He's an English romantic poet and a pioneer of romantic poets. He expresses his love for nature in his poems by juxtaposing it with humanity. Lucy Gray is a perfect example of his writing style, his love for nature, and after the publication of lyrical ballads, along with Coleridge in 1798, that was the beginning of romantic period. And so at one point William Wordsworth, he turned from long poems to short ones, and this is the lyrical ballads publication, the partnership between Wordsworth and Coleridge, rooted in one marvelous air 797 and 98, in which they together wanted in wild poesy had two consequences for Wordsworth. Like, first, it turned him away from the long poems on which he had labored since his Cambridge days, and these included poems of social protest like Salisbury Plain, loco-descriptive in poems such as In Evening Walk, the descriptive sketches, etc. As he himself says, that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility, that inward eye which is the basis of solitude. The child is father of the man, the courts. Now, Lucy Gray is a form of lyrical poetry as it expresses thoughts and feelings of poet. Specifically, the poem is ballad as it relates a folk tale, the tale of Lucy Gray. The poet uses lyrical ballad as to enable the free flow of his feelings in a controlled or formal setting. The story-like structure makes the poem simple and also reinforces that Lucy was only a child when she died. Any readers familiar with Wordsworth poetry, such as Lucy Gray, know that the death of a child is a common theme. And escapism in nature, they, like most of the romantic poets, they were highly imaginative. They took escape in nature. And another important aspect of romantics were isolation, solitude, nature. Like the title of the poem Lucy Gray, solitude is very significant as it directly relates to the subject. Lucy is the name of the child character that is created to undergo their transition from a human being to a spirit that is free to roam in nature. Like a child, that is, it is got more connectivity and attachment with nature. And the repetition of the word Lucy is used to remind the reader that the poem's purpose is to give recognition to the little girl whose life Grey represents Lucy's mood and taste of mind. Grey is neither black nor white, but a color in between. The color symbolizes Lucy's isolation from companionship in her inability to fully enjoy nature, which was her source of freedom. Like that was for William Wordsworth. Nature is a source of freedom. They took isolation, they took solitude in. I travelled among unknown men. 3 years she grew in sun and shower. In a slumber did my spirit seal. This particular poem, Lucy Gray, was written some time after his other Lucy poems and is not often grouped with the others. Critics have not been able to come to a decisive stance on the identity of Lucy, and those who knew about her all that can be gathered about Lucy from his poems suggest that she represents more than one person. Like after the death, still her operation as that her visibility after that, the songs which are being sung there after her death. Loved is William Wordsworth had loved the representation of all the people, and she seems to possess a supernatural perfection, as oft, no mate, no comrade, Lucy knew. Oft I had heard of Lucy Gray, and when I crossed the wild, I chanced to see at break of day the solitary child. Heard, I saw her at the mid of the day, and another in the next stanza, no maid, no comrade, Lucy knew. Line 5. This line expresses Lucy's state of loneliness or solitude and also represents information that Lucy was a child. In this setting, the foreshadowing for the rest of the poem, the reader knows that Lucy Gray has been heard before and often. In the next stanza, tonight will be a stormy night. Line 3, the sky was getting dark because of the impending storm. No mate, no comrade, Lucy no, she dwelt on a wild moor, the sweetest thing that ever grew beside a human door. This stanza continues to create curiosity about Lucy. The reader gets curious about, and the speaker says that she has no mate, no comrade. She was alone, and yonder is the moon. This line reinforces the state of the sky and the dimness of light. In the next stanza, it says, you yet may spy the fawn at play, the hare upon the green, but the sweet face of Lucy Gray will never more be seen. Here, the speaker talks directly to the reader and says that they may spy a fawn at play, and that they may catch sight of a hare upon the green, but that the sweet face of Lucy Gray will never more be seen. With this stanza, the speaker reveals that something has happened to Lucy. Like the nature, the hare, each and everything will be seen, each and everything will be there, but Lucy will be seen no more. Tonight will be a stormy night, and it's getting dark. The sky was getting dark because of the impending storm. You to the town must go and take a lantern, child, to light your mother through the snow. Like here, it tells a story, and this story is being told by another person, begins to talk from another's point of view, that this person has sent out child with a lantern in hand to find his mother this stormy night. That, father, will I gladly do. 'Tis scarcely afternoon, the minster clock has just struck 2, and yet yonder is the moon. The speaker has already described Lucy as the sweetest thing, so it does not come as a surprise that she should respond that, father, will I gladly do this. In this, the father raised his book and snapped a faggot bang. He plied his work, and Lucy took the lantern in her Stanza continues the storm story from the original speaker's point of view. He says that the father returned to his work as Lucy went out with the lantern in hand that stormy night. Lucy Gray, it's a poem comprised of 16 stanzas of quatrains. Each quatrain follows the rhyme scheme of Abby. Abby, the rhyme helps to lighten the mood and the tone of the poem. And the use of I suggest that the poet is somehow connected to his subjects or his character Lucy Gray. Not blether is the mountain row with many a wanton stroke. Her feet disperse the powdery snow that rises up like smoke when she walks. Those walking along slowly and carelessly, kicking up the powdery snow as she walks and watching it rise, rising like smoke. And these descriptions of Lucy help to continue to paint a picture of a sweet and innocent girl. Description of that sweetest things that evergreen. He admires her, he believes her to be beautiful, and uses grow to compare her to plants. The storm came on before its time. She wandered up and down. In many a hill did Lucy climb, but never reached the town. But the sweet Lucy Gray, in the next line that you may see, sweet Lucy Gray, these lines reinforces his view of her as a sweet little girl whom he adores. And with the first line of this stanza, the speaker reveals what will happen to Lucy. The storm came, like it is getting dark, it's getting windy and stormy on before its time, and Lucy wandered up and down and climbed many a hill but never reached the town. She struggled to get escape there, and imagine poor Lucy lost in the storm and climbing hell after hell only to be lost in the storm. The vocabulary is simple and words are constantly repeated to show the flow of the story, like the repetition of Lucy's name. Oft had I heard of Lucy, line 1, no mate, no comrade, Lucy knew, line 5, but the sweet face of Lucy Gray, line 11, and many a hill did Lucy climb. This repetition is constantly repeating the words Lucy. Wretched parents all that night went shouting far and wide, but there was neither sound nor sight to serve them for a guide. This stanza reveals that at some point during the night, Lucy's mother returned home when her parents realized that Lucy had never made it to town with the lantern. They were reached all that night, as any parent would be, like they were worried about her absence, and she was but found nothing in the darkness and silence of the night. At daybreak on a hill they stood that overlooked the moor, and thence they saw the bridge of wood afar long from their door. Again the speaker mentions daybreak. This is a significant time in the poem. This is the time of day when the speaker mentions having seen Lucy Gray. This is also the time of day when the parents realize that Lucy has probably not made it through the winter storm. They wept and turning homeward, cried and heaven. They worried about her absence. They cried, they went home. The print of Lucy's feet, however, but her footprints gives hope. But then downwards from the steep hill's edge, they tread like she was stressed. But as they were following the tracks, her footprints, there was hope. But with this, then downwards from the steep hill's edge, they tracked the footmarks small, and through the broken heathen hedge, and by the long stone wall. With this, the parents begin to follow her footprints. They see that she walked through the broken heathen hedge, by the long stone wall. With hope in their hearts, they continue to follow her steps. By now, the reader is likely fully sympathizing, like everyone who reads that, we get sympathetic towards Lucy's disappearance, and then an open field they crossed. The marks were still the same. They tracked them on our everlast into the bridge they came. The bridge, and there, from there, that was the last point where their daughter's footprints were forced to imagine her trudging through the snow storm, lost and afraid. They followed from the snowy bank those footmarks one by one into the middle of the blank, and further these were none. From that point, these were disappeared. The only conclusion is that Lucy fell off the bridge. Yet some maintain that to this day she is a living child, that you may see sweet Lucy Gray upon the lonesome wild. Those over rough and smooth she trips along, and never looks behind, and sings a solitary song that whistles in the south. The repetition is used to give recognition to Lucy Gray. The tone of the poetic piece is reflective and light. The mood of the poem fluctuates between one of sadness and one of happiness. In the first three stanzas, the mood was sad as Lucy's invisibility and her death was revealed. The story progresses. The sadness of the mood fades and is replaced by happiness, joy, and acceptance. The theme of death is symbolized in the title of the poem, and then she re-established through the use of other symbols and lines of the poem. But the sweet face of Lucy Gray will never more be seen. These lines establish the death of Lucy. The death is revealed at the beginning. The ballad is to keep the tone light. If the death was revealed at the end of the poem, would lose. The storm came on before its time. Storm is used as a symbol of death. Lucy died at a very young age. In the final state, Wordsworth uses alliteration and sings a solitary song that whistle in the wind. The sa sound created helps to create the whistling that is mentioned. The poem Lucy Gray is about merger of humanness with nature. Wordsworth uses the poem to express the selfishness of human beings and contrast it with the serenity that is prevented in nature. He presents nature as a freedom and means of escape, and uses character Lucy Gray as to express the smooth transition from humanistic ideals to one's connected nature. Wordsworth presents a child as the major character in his ballad. The child innocence will allow her is to express the smooth. And this is like the last two stanzas of the poet clearly wanted to mean that after Lucy's death, people sometimes used to see her apparition and thought that she was still alive. The apparition seemed to sail smoothly over rough ground, and the whistling sound of the blowing wind seemed to be a song sung by the apparition. Thank you and good luck.